I mean, I don't know what to say. You're under arrest. I mean, making a mass arrest. It was a violent protest. People were spray painting, breaking windows, burning trash cans, destroying property. And the SOD commander believes this group was responsible for it. And you're all getting arrested.
All right, thank you.
Second time that I have been arrested covering protests in the past 5+ years. Hey everybody, Tim Kest here. Over the past weekend, I was covering the Donald Trump inauguration protests. And the day of the inauguration, a large group of Black Bloc protesters started smashing windows, flipping garbage cans, knocking things over, spray painting, lighting cars on fire. Starbucks, Bank of America, McDonald's, and many other buildings had their windows smashed out. Now, a Black Bloc is when people all wear black hoodies, scarves, sunglasses, masks, so that the police can't figure out who is who. At one point, a large group got surrounded by police and detained for a long period of time. Guess what? I was one of those people. Not too long after being put in this police kettle and detained, we were actually informed that we were all being arrested. And again, this is not the first time that I have been arrested, but you may notice that I didn't actually go to jail or get locked up, but I was arrested. So here's what happens. When the group was officially detained, they declared that all those people were under arrest, and one by one started pulling them out, cuffing them up, and sending them to lockup. I did get arrested temporarily, and I was let go. So a lot of people always say, oh, Tim Pool's never been arrested at protests. He must be a cop or an informant or some ridiculous accusation like that. The answer to why I didn't go to jail is actually really simple. I stayed calm. But it's a little more complicated than that. Let me say this. First, I'm a journalist. I have press cards that identify me as such, business cards, things like that. And then I can show that I do work in news media. That's the strongest thing. Obviously, the police try to avoid arresting journalists, but still, many journalists over the past several years have been arrested at a lot of these protests. And the police try to deny it, but they do get arrested, and they do get desk appearances, and they do spend time in jail. But for me, 2 times in the past couple of years, I did not go to jail after being arrested. I was actually cut loose after a short period of time. During this detainment, you can hear people screaming at the top of their lungs, you can't hold me, you let me go, and they're screaming at the cops about how they're traitors and saying, whose side are you on? All that does is say to the cop, arrest me first. How many times has a lawyer said, stay silent? In fact, and I mean no disrespect, there was actually a lawyer in the crowd screaming at the top of his lungs about how he needs to be let go, but then telling the crowd to remain silent. I said over and over again, look, these cops who are holding you here, they can't do anything, right? They're under orders and they don't know anything about you. All I know is there's a huge crowd of people who are just smashing things up and no one can leave. The cops next to me are agitated. I know that. So I try to let them know if I'm going to do something. I'm moving my backpack. I'm just going to move my backpack. And they give me a little nod, like, okay. Because they're worried, what if I pull out pepper spray? What if I pull out something? Because these protesters, they charge the police line. I'm trying to stay calm, quiet, smile on my face. Look, if I end up in lockup for 30+ hours or the weekend, if I'm locked up for the weekend, you know what? It's not the worst thing that's going to happen to me. I'm here doing my job, and that's what's going to happen. But here's why I didn't. When Lieutenant Washington of the Metro PD was walking by, I waved him over, and I said, I just want to let you know that I'm pressed. And I held one card in my hand and my phone in the other. And he said, I know, I can't let you out. No one's allowed to leave. And I get it. I'm just letting you know, just for me, just so you know, I'm pressed, okay? And he says, okay. Short while later, I asked him if he could make a statement. And he says, to the camera, y'all are being arrested. I'm not sure what the charges are, yada, yada, things like that. And then says, no one can leave. And he walks away. And that's that. I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm getting arrested. But about 45 minutes later, he walks back over. He looks over at me and a couple other NBC journalists, and he says, come here. He pulls us out of the crowd. He says, show me your cards. We all show our cards, and he says, get out of here. Officer escorts us down the block, out of the police line, and that's it. Standing on the sidewalk, free to leave. Again, the number one reason, I am a journalist. I have a press card, and I can show that. But even with that, if I wasn't calm, if I was screaming, if I was insulting them, they just say, we don't, whatever. You can spend it, we'll figure it out later. But I just very politely and very calmly said, look, it's a situation I have to deal with. Now, the other time I was arrested was in Ferguson, and it was a very, very similar situation. The police started arresting everybody. I got cuffed, sat down. The flex cuffs they use are cutting off circulation in my hand. and a cop was standing nearby. He was kind of, walking close to me, and I said, "Pardon me, officer. Sorry to bother you. These cuffs are maybe causing damage to my hands. If it's okay to loosen them or something." And he said, "Okay, we'll get someone to loosen them." Just very calmly. They did come over. They recuffed me a little bit looser, and I started to get feeling back in my hands. Hey, just be calm, right? These guys are agitated. Eventually, I said, "I just want to let you know I'm press. I'm a journalist. I have a card on me." And they nodded and said, "Yeah, okay." Eventually, one of these cops went over to the supervisor. The supervisor is super pissed. He's yelling at me, "You're lying. You're not a journalist. You have no proof." And I said, it's cards in my wallet. You can take the wallet, take out my wallet. Look, my card's in there." And he's like, "You better not be lying to me." And they stand me up. He pulls out my wallet, opens it up. They're my cards. And he grumbles, he hands it back, and he motions. They cut me loose, and they tell me to leave. I'm not screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm not insulting people. It's not going to be the same thing for protesters, right? If you're a protester, you're getting arrested. You're at a protest, you're a protester, and they arrest protesters. Sometimes it's illegal, sometimes it's not. A lot of times police are heavy-handed. It's just the way it is. It's what happens, right? But if you are a medic, if you are a journalist, if you are a lawyer, the best thing you can do, obviously, one, stay silent. Only speak if you absolutely have to. Think about if you had to go to court. You tell the judge, "Your Honor, I calmly and politely said I am a journalist, just so you know, and nothing more." And that's a statement you give. And it's still risky, staying silent could be important. But at least then you can say, I told them, I had proof, and then what happens, happens. The main reason I want to say that I'm a journalist is so that if I do get locked up, I can say, truthfully, honestly, they were informed. There's a video record of it on my live stream posted online. I informed them I was a journalist, and I held up my press card. That way, they can't deny it. They say, okay, they knew, right? But what ends up happening? They let me leave. So no, there's no conspiracy. There's no secret. I'm not a cop. Nothing ridiculous. Staying calm and collected in a tense situation is the most important thing you can do. So I wanted to make this video because I got a ton of people always saying that, like, I must be a cop or something because I never get arrested. And some people say, "Oh, we don't have proof yet, but look, the police let him go." So there it is. There's the secret. There's my secret as to why I didn't actually spend a lot of time in jail. Though I was arrested, and it was stated to me numerous times, I got to leave. So that's all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to tune in tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday, and I'm going to talk about this in greater depth on the Busker app. So that's busker.co. Join in my live stream, ask me questions, and we can have a cool conversation about the protests, about getting arrested but cut loose, about the other people who got arrested and what I saw. It was crazy. It was tense. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to follow me on Twitter @TimCast. I will see you all later.